Jim Candy, Part 5, Chapter 14. As we came pouring out, our fans rose, cheering as one. A minute later, the Foothill players charged onto the field, and their fans were up and cheering. It was a cold, drizzly night, but the place was alive. We won the coin toss, so Foothill kicked off. Kane's runback took the ball out past the 30, and our offense charged onto the field. I reached for my helmet and had nearly pulled it over my head before I remembered. I wasn't starting. Everything happens fast on a football field, but a running back has to have patience. He has to wait for an opening and then make his move, and he has to be twice as patient in the rain, with the wet turf slowing the linemen, making every play take one beat longer. But Kane couldn't wait, not in a game with this much pressure. He'd take Drew's handoff and just plunge into the line, sometimes running smack into his own blockers. Time and again, possession after possession, the same thing. I was going crazy on the sidelines. Carlson had to see what I was seeing. He had to know what I knew. So when would he yank Kane and put me in? Near the end of the first quarter, Foothill caught lightning in a bottle. On 3rd and inches inside their own 20, the Spartan quarterback faked a handoff to the fullback. Both of our safeties bit, so when the quarterback rolled to his right and looked downfield, his wide receiver was open by 10 yards. The pass was long and high, giving the receiver plenty of time to run under it. He took it in stride at the 40, and 5 seconds later, he was in the end zone. Foothill 7, Shills Hole 0. I was sure that touchdown would be my ticket into the game, but Carlson stuck with Kane for another series. We managed a couple of decent plays, both of them passes from Drew to Deshaun. But on 3rd and 1 from Foothill's 40, Kane smacked into the back of our center and fumbled the wet ball. A Foothill linebacker covered it, and minutes later their kicker split the uprights with a 30-yard field goal, pushing their lead to 10-0. "Johnson," Carlson called as the ball sailed through. "Put your helmet on. You're going in." He didn't have to say it twice. And once I was on the field, Carlson didn't mess around. On nearly every play, my number was called. 6 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards. Foothill's defense was the best in the league, maybe the best in the state. But I was rested and ready and strong, and I had the XTR racing through my bloodstream. On 2nd and 6 from their 33, Drew faked a handoff to me. The linebackers were so focused on me that they'd all have come up, leaving our tight end wide open over the middle. Drew's pass was on the money, and Jones rumbled all the way until he hit pay dirt. Our fans went crazy as the band struck up the fight song. We blew the extra point, so at halftime the score was Foothill 10, Shills Hole 6. The Foothill guys got their legs back at the half, and they were stronger off the line in the 3rd quarter. I ran hard, but our blocking wasn't consistent. If I had a sliver of a hole, I'd break 5 or 7 yard run. But if there's nothing there, there's nothing there. Our drive stalled, and we had to punt. Sometime in the 3rd quarter, the drizzle had become a steady, chilling rain. My body was somehow frozen from the rain, and at the same time it was hot from my sweat. I didn't let myself feel my own misery. I kept pounding the ball at them, pounding it and pounding it. Early in the 4th quarter, the left side of their defensive line broke. I sliced through them for 8 yards, then 12, then 6. I thought Carlson would run right or maybe throw a pass, but he came back with another running play left. I broke into the secondary and then cut back. A quarterback went for an ankle tackle that I stepped out of. A safety missed me and I was gone, down the sideline and into the end zone for the touchdown that put us ahead. This time Solomon made the extra point, so with 7 minutes left in the game, the score was Shills Hole 13, Foothill 10. We were just about there, just about in the state playoffs. Our fans, dry under the overhang, were on their feet, cheering our defense. The Foothill coach could feel the game slipping away, and a little desperation crept into his play calling. There was time for him to stick to his gameplay plan and run a balanced attack, but on the next series, all the plays were passes. Foothill clicked on the first one, a bullet over the middle for 15 yards, but the next two were little dink jobs in the flat that gained 6 yards total, setting up 3rd and 4. Carlson guessed pass and sent the 2 outside linebackers on a blitz. He was right, but it wasn't the blitz that blew up the play. The Spartan quarterback lost his footing in the mud before any of our guys reached him. He lost 8 yards, making it 4th and 12. The punting team came onto the field and kicked the ball away. We took over on our own 33-yard line with less than 5 minutes left. All we needed were a couple of first downs, and the way to get them was to have me run the ball right down their throats. Carlson knew it and called my number 3 straight times. I got us a first down. More important, the game clock kept ticking. 3:28, 3:27, 3:26. All Carlson had to do was keep calling plays for me. It didn't matter that Foothill was stacking the line. I could still gain yards. I had the strength. I knew I had it. Instead, when he saw 8 Foothill guys crowding the line of scrimmage, he decided to go for the knockout. The call was for a bomb to Deshaun on a fly pattern. Drew took the snap, faked a handoff to me, and dropped back to pass. The play might have worked, but as Drew released the ball, he was blindsided by defensive end. The ball fluttered into the night air like a wounded duck. The cornerback covering Deshaun cut underneath him and made the interception on a dead run. And then he was off, down the sideline. Touchdown. Drew was down from the hit, and he stayed lying in the cold muck for a couple of minutes. When he finally got up, he was holding his right shoulder and grimacing as Stimes led him to the locker room. Foothill's band was playing their fight song over and over. Their fans were delirious. Their entire team had poured into the end zone to swarm the cornerback who'd scored the touchdown. Their coaches were trying to get them out of the end zone, but it was too late. Yellow penalty flags for excessive celebration were all over the field. The extra point made the score 17-13, but instead of kicking off from the 40, the penalty pushed them back to their 25. That's when Kane came through. He fielded the kick on our 35. Instead of messing around with fancy moves this way and that, he brought the ball straight up field. We had a great wedge, and he made it all the way to Foothill's 40 before he was brought down. There was 2:52 left. Plenty of time. With Drew in the locker room, our quarterback was Tony McGinley, a tall, skinny senior. When I first saw him at tryouts, I thought he was the water boy. It turned out he was a good athlete. He just didn't have the size. He could do everything on a football field but survive the hits. Carlson didn't panic, and having McKinley try to do more than he could. Instead, he stayed with me. The ball was slick, so I had to be extra careful to tuck it away and to hold it tight. This was not the time for a fumble. A sweep left for 8 yards, 240, 239. A little screen pass, not much more than a handoff for 7 more. A draw play for 6 that got us into the red zone, 151, 150, 149. Everybody in the field knew I was getting the ball on every play. Foothill's coach assigned a linebacker to bird dog me. It didn't matter. On a quick draw, I drove down inside the 10 for a 1st and goal with just over a minute left. But then, on 1st and goal, McGinley fumbled the snap. For a second, I thought a Foothill guy would recover, but when it squirted free from him, our left guard fell on it back in the slop on the 12-yard line. We had to use our second timeout to regroup. When we huddled, McGinley's eyes were scared. "Just watch the snap into your hands and then stick the ball out for me," I said. On the next play, I went off tackle to the 6, and on 3rd down swept wide right, taking the ball down to the 3-yard line. 4th down. We took our final timeout. I sucked down some water as we huddled around Carlson. 34 toss sweep on 1, he said. "Linemen, hold your blocks." Then Carlson looked at McGinley. "Make a nice smooth toss, and Mick will take it to the house." The referee blew his whistle. We huddled up, and McGinley repeated what Carlson had called. 34 toss sweep on 1. Guys clapped and trotted to the line of scrimmage. I liked that the snap was on 1. Liked that there was no waiting around. Liked that it was now. "Hut!" McGinley called, and the center snapped the ball. The pitch out was right on the money. I watched the ball into my hands, tucked it away against my chest, and then drifted down the line looking for a crack. And there it was, a small opening between the guard and the tackle. I cut up field, but right then a Foothill linebacker shed his blocker. It was number 50, the same guy who'd brought me down the year before. He hit me at the 1-yard line. For a split second, we were both frozen, both straining, neither yielding. But this time, it was his legs that gave way. This time, I drove him back. And a second later, I was churning forward across the goal line and into the end zone. I raised both arms high above my head, reaching the football towards the sky, the rain pouring down on me like diamonds. So Mick gets his chance to play in the Foothill game after the game is just too close, and Kane is doing an okay job, but again, he's not Mick on steroids. So the coach puts him in, and unfortunately, Drew ends up getting hurt and has to go to the locker room with the trainer. But the backup quarterback doesn't really have to throw. He just has to be there and pass off the ball to Mick. And it's a really hard-fought fight, but Shills-Hole does end up beating Foothill in the very last minutes or so of the game. And Mick is just elated because not only have they beat Foothill, but he also got to go against number 50 again, and this time he won, unlike last year.